Greetings to all and all present here. Welcome to the valedictory session of the annual Constitutional Law Conference on exploring constitutional philosophy and evolving dynamics of industrial relations and labor welfare. I am Akila of 3rd BCom LLB.
And I'm Kusma, first LLB student convener.
Your host for this event. We have reached a culmination of what has been a truly insightful and an enriching conference. Over the past 2 days, we've had the privilege of listening to and engaging with esteemed experts, delving deep into the foundational principles of our Constitution and their intricate relationship with the ever-changing landscape of industrial relations and labor welfare. To start this occasion with serenity, I call upon Ms. Pavana NM of 5th B LLB for the invocation song.
ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ವರ ನಿನಗೆ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಪ್ರಣಾಮ ಸ್ಮರಿಸುವೆ ನಿನ್ನಯ ದಿವ್ಯ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ವರ ನಿನಗೆ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಪ್ರಣಾಮ ಸ್ಮರಿಸುವೆ ನಿನ್ನಯ ದಿವ್ಯ ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಶಕ ಬುದ್ಧಿ ಪ್ರದಾಯಕ ವಿಘ್ನ ವಿನಾಶಕ ಬುದ್ಧಿ ಪ್ರದಾಯಕ ವಿದ್ಯೆ ನೀಡು ಶ್ರೀ ವರದಾಯಕ ಚರಣ ಕಮಲ ನಿನ್ನ ಪೂಜಿಪೆ ಅನುದಿನ ಚರಣ ಕಮಲ ನಿನ್ನ ಪೂಜಿಪೆ ಅನುದಿನ ಪಾವನಗೊಳಿಸೋ ಈ ಶಾಂತಿಧಾಮ ಪಾವನಗೊಳಿಸೋ ಈ ಶಾಂತಿಧಾಮ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ವರ ನಿನಗೆ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಪ್ರಣಾಮ ಗಂಗಾಧರ ಸುತ ಚಂದ್ರ ಸುಧಾರಕ ಗಂಗಾಧರ ಸುತ ಚಂದ್ರ ಸುಧಾರಕ ಮಂಗಳ ಹರಿಸು ಶ್ರೀ ಶುಭದಾಯಕ ಭವಸಾಗರವನು ದಾಟಲು ಅನುದೇನ ಭವಸಾಗರವನು ದಾಟಲು ಅನುದೇನ ಸಾಧನವೀತವ ತಾರಕ ನಾಮ ಸಾಧನವೀತವ ತಾರಕ ನಾಮ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ವರ ನಿನಗೆ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಪ್ರಣಾಮ ಸ್ಮರಿಸುವೆ ನಿನ್ನಯ ದಿವ್ಯ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ವರ ನಿನಗೆ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಪ್ರಣಾಮ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಪ್ರಣಾಮ ಪ್ರಥಮ ಪ್ರಣಾಮ. Thank you, Pavana, for the divine. Now, I would request Dr. Sharada K.S., Assistant Professor of Law and HOD, BBA LLB, KLE Law College, Bengaluru, to deliver the welcome address. Please. Respected dignitaries, honored after us, esteemed faculty members, distinguished delegates, and my dear students. A very good evening to one and all. It is my immense pleasure to stand before you today to welcome everyone to the valedictory ceremony of the annual Constitutional Law Conference on Exploring Constitutional Philosophy and Evolving Dynamics of Industrial Relations and Labor Welfare. This two-day conference, organized by KLE Law College, Bengaluru, has been a remarkable journey of intellectual disclosure, insightful deliberations, and meaningful exchange. Today, as we gather to conclude this conference, we reflect on the knowledge shared, the connections forged, and the ideas that will shape the future of legal scholarship and practice. This valedictory ceremony is not just an end, but a celebration of our collective commitment to justice, equity, and the rule of law. We are immensely privileged to have with us as our chief guest Mr. S.N. Murthy, Senior Advocate, High Court of Karnataka, Bengaluru. Sir, your illustrious career marked by profound legal acumen and unwavering commitment to justice, serving as beacon of inspiration for all of us. Your contribution to the legal fraternity and your dedication to upholding constitutional values resonate deeply with the theme of this conference. We are truly grateful for your gracious presence and eagerly await your insights. It's an honor to welcome you, sir, and may now request Ms. Chandrakala faculty to present a sapling and welcome Mr. S.N. Murthy, sir. Sir, please. Thank you, madam. Equally, we are honored to welcome our guest of honor, Professor Dr. Babu Matthew, Professor at NLSU Bangalore. Your scholarly excellence and pioneering work in the field of law, particularly in labor rights and industrial relations, have set benchmarks in the legal education and practice. Your thoughts today will undoubtedly enrich our understanding and leave a lasting impact on all present. And we now may I request Ms. Siddhi Sunu, faculty, to present a sapling and welcome Professor Dr. Babu Matthew, sir, for the program. Thank you, madam. It is my great honor and privilege to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to our beloved principal, Professor Dr. J. Mallikarjunayya, Dean, Faculty of Law, KLE Technological University, and Principal of KLE Law College, Bangalore. Sir, your visionary leadership and unwavering dedication have been a guiding force behind the success of this institution. Under your stewardship, KLE Law College has flourished as a center of academic excellence, fostering legal scholarship, innovation, and deep commitment to justice. And may now request Dr. Mantesh sir to present a sapling and welcome our beloved principal, Dr. J. Mallikarjunayya sir. Thank you, sir. Distinguished delegates, speakers, chairpersons of various sessions, esteemed alumni members, faculty members, students, and the members of media and the press are cordially welcome you all for the Valedictory program. Once again, I welcome each one of you for this program. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request Dr. Anita M.J., Vice Principal and HOD, PJ Department of Law, KE Law College, Bengaluru, to introduce the esteemed guest of today's program. Ma'am, please.
Good afternoon. Respected dignitaries on and off the dais, invitees, delegates, staff, and my dear students. Today we have gathered here for the valedictory function of the annual Constitutional Law Conference. On this significant occasion, I would like to introduce Chief Guest of today's function, Sri S.N. Murthy, Senior Advocate, High Court of Karnataka. Sri S.N. Murthy is a distinguished legal professional with over 5 decades of exemplary service in industrial relations and human resources law. Known for his unwavering commitment, integrity, and clarity, he has become a respected name across the courts and corporate circles throughout India. As a senior advocate, Sir has represented a wide spectrum of clients from managements and trade unions to government bodies before various legal forums, including High Courts and Supreme Court of India. His deep understanding of industrial law and practical wisdom has earned him recognition as legal luminary, labor law expert, and industrial relations guru. Beyond his legal acumen, Sir is celebrated for his mentorship and dedication to nurturing the next generation professionals. His contributions have significantly shaped the HR and IR landscape in Karnataka and beyond, making him a revered figure among HR professionals, legal experts, and union leaders alike. With this brief introduction, I once again welcome Sri S.N. Murthy, Senior Advocate, High Court of Karnataka. Now, I would like to introduce Professor Babu Matthew, guest of honor for today's conference, an esteemed academician and a dedicated advocate for social justice. Professor Babu Matthew is a distinguished professor and faculty member in Master's Program in Public Policy and serves as co-court or director of Center for Labor Studies at NLSIU. With prolific academic career, he has been instrumental in shaping thought-provoking courses such as law, policy and development, and transformative constitutionalism, fostering critical engagement among his students. With an impressive academic background, including BSc, LLB, LLM, and MPhil, Professor Matthew has seamlessly merged academia with activism. He previously held the role of registrar and faculty at NLSIU and has been deeply involved in trade union movements and various other social movements addressing pressing issues like bonded labor, child labor, displacement, and destruction of marginalized livelihood. Notably, Professor Matthew's commitment to human rights transcends academia. As the country director of Action Aid International in India, he led the evaluation of right-based policy framework, implementing robust human rights agenda with a special emphasis on economic, social, and cultural rights across 25 states in India. His leadership extended to presenting a pivotal shadow report focusing on excluded communities before UN Committee in Geneva. Professor Matthews' unparalleled expertise and lifelong dedication to human rights and social equity makes him a beacon of inspiration for scholars and practitioners alike. With this brief introduction, I once again welcome Professor Matthew sir to this gathering. Thank
Thank you, ma'am. I now request Ms. Shamli S., Assistant Professor of Law, KLE Law College, Bengaluru, to briefly summarize the key takeaways and highlights of all the sessions of the conference. Ma'am, please.
Good evening to all dignitaries, guests, delegates, faculty, and students. It is my privilege to present a brief report of the two-day annual Constitutional Law Conference on exploring constitutional philosophy and evolving dynamics of industrial relations and labor welfare. The conference was conceptualized by Professor Dr. Aitar, Professor Dr. J. Mallikarjunaya, and Dr. Vishnu Prasad R. The conference aimed to critically explore the evolution of labor law reforms in India, particularly in the context of the 1991 new economic policy and the recently enacted labor codes. While reforms seek to enhance economic growth and ease of doing business, they must also align with the constitutional values. This conference brought together an exceptional panel of legal minds and scholars to reflect on how constitutional values can guide the future of labor relations in a rapidly changing world. The core organizing committee, which was guided by Dr. Manoj Kumar V. Hiramat and headed by Dr. Sunita B.H., along with faculty members Ms. Siddhi Suman, Ms. Devasmita Acharji, Ms. Shamali, and student members Mr. Aditya Kamal, Ms. Bhumika, Ms. Purvi, Ms. Kusuma, Ms. Akhila, Ms. Vikruti, and Ms. Bhargavi have worked for the last 2 months to materialize this event. Out of the papers we received from both internal and external participants,
After careful review, 250 papers were selected for presentation. On the first day of conference, the inauguration began with an invocation and a welcome address by Professor Dr. J. M. Mallikarjunaya, introducing the themes of industrial relations and globalization. Dr. C.S. Patil emphasized the importance of aligning labor law with constitutional values. Dr. Aruna Sham highlighted Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's legacy in labor reform and the dignity of the working class. Honorable Justice Arvind Kumar stressed the Constitution as a social contract and urged legal professionals to advocate for the rights of gig and contract workers. Plenary session 1 was led by Professor Vijay Kumar B. and Mr. Rajeshwara PN, who discussed the theme Constitutional Philosophy and Labour Welfare, focusing on the constitutional framework for labour rights and the challenges in ensuring their effective implementation. Speakers highlighted issues like poor working conditions, lack of enforcement of labour laws, and the need for living wages. The session concluded by urging stronger enforcement, policy reforms, and social responsibility to uphold dignity of labour. Plenary session 2 discussed the importance of new economic policy on industrial relations, highlighting the shift towards privatization, globalization, and the rise of contractual and gig worker, which has created new challenges for workers' welfare. Dr. Suresh Natagowda emphasized labor law reforms and the divide between organized and unorganized labor. Professor Dr. Aitad explored the role of neoliberal economic policies in shaping labor welfare, advocating for reforms while ensuring workers' rights and social justice. Plenary session 3 on day 2 discussed the evolving dynamics of wages, social security, and labor welfare in India, particularly in the context of privatization and neoliberal policies. Professor Sudesh presented the 3D framework for wage policy, emphasizing the need for fair remuneration and social justice. Professor Dr. Mallikarjunaya highlighted the constitutional role of the state in ensuring workers' welfare and the challenges posed by neoliberalism. Plenary session 4 was on the theme of constitutional mandates and working conditions in the era of neoliberalization, which featured Professor Babu Matthew, Professor Satish Gowda, and they highlighted how neoliberal policies have weakened labor protection, increased precarity, and diluted constitutional commitments to workers' rights. Both emphasized the need to uphold constitutional values in shaping just and inclusive labor policies. The presentations spanned over 6 technical sessions in both online and offline modes, which were assessed by a panel consisting of external chairs and internal faculty chairs. As the sessions unfolded critical insights and sparked meaningful dialogue, the upcoming valedictory promises to be an enriching conclusions, celebrating key takeaways while inspiring continued engagement with issues of social justice, workers' rights, and constitutional values in a rapidly changing world. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request our chief guest, Mr. S.M. Murthy, Senior Advocate, High Court of Karnataka, to deliver the valedictory address. Sir, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, 6 sessions you have been sitting here. I won't be sitting for 6 seconds. I must congratulate you. One of the leading advocates was called by the Chief Justice, and he was told, "You have made a very big name in just about 20 years of practice. You are still 43, 44, maximum 45. Your preparation is good. Judges have a good impression about you. You are straightforward, honest. Why don't you come and sit with me? Become a judge." This is what he said. This man was a straightforward man. He told him, in the meantime, the Chief Justice had ordered for tea. So he said, I will have my tea and then answer you as to my. He said, fine, fine, no problem, have tea. He had tea. Then he said, what is your decision? Will you come and join me? He said, sir, I would prefer to talk 2 hours nonsense than hear 5 hours of nonsense. Like that way, don't go and quote. Murthy having said that the judges are listening to nonsense and advocates will take stones and throw at me. One of my very bright moment for me today, this afternoon, is meeting my friend Mr. Babu Matthews. 54, 55 years back, both of us used to be representing different colleges and debating on this very subject of globalization. Even after 55 years, the subject still remains strong. He holds his views, I hold my view. My views vary from the views of Mr. Babu Matthews. I always call it as a communist view. Of course, they will call me as a capitalist view, obviously, in tit for tat. But one thing I have always felt very sad about my friend Babu Matthews. An occasion to tell him why I felt sad. He was a very good lawyer. He gave up practice and went to become a professor. One of the very good lawyers from the workers' side, but who can appreciate the other side argument also, instead of getting agitated and taking it, whatever is there and throwing at him, very politely say you're wrong and I'm right. And give opportunity to everyone. And he went away to become a director of Law Institute in Delhi. And then we heard about him. Then one fine day I heard he was contesting Lok Sabha election. And then I thought of all the people, why my friend with these people who cannot understand even his English. He is now going to become an MP. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕನ್ನಡ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ಕೋತೀನಿ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಯಾರು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮಾತು ಆಡಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. I was feeling a little restless. Constitutionally, there is sufficient provision as to how, in chapter 4, how the nation should deal with labor. We don't need any book from outside sources. ಯಾವ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶದ ಏನು ಓದಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. To sum up, all that the Constitution says is, take care of labor force, give them a decent life, make them a part of your, economic growth. Minimum wages fix ಮಾಡಿ, and ensure that their lifestyle is not affected because of lack of medical treatment and education for the children, etc. For a long time, in India, ನೀವೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಇವಾಗ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಹಾಕಿರಿ ಇವತ್ತು, ಆ ಪಾರ್ಟಿನೂ ಈ ಪಾರ್ಟಿನೂ ಬೈತಾನೆ, ಈ ಪಾರ್ಟಿನೂ ಆ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಬೈತಾನೆ, ಅದನ್ನೇ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಕೂತಿರ್ಬೇಕು. ಮೈ ವೈಫ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಐ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ 9 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ, ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಟಿವಿ. 5 ನಿಮಿಷ ಕೂತಿರ್ತೀವಿ, ಅವ್ರು ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾವೇನ್ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, 55 ನಿಮಿಷಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ್ರು ಅದೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ಯಾಕೆ 50 ನಿಮಿಷ ಕೂತಿರೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ವಿ ನೋ ದ ನ್ಯೂಸ್, ಅದೇ ಒಂದು 5 ನಿಮಿಷ ಬಂದಿದೆ. Where is the time for all these people to worry about the society? Take for example the trade unions. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೊರಟೋಯ್ತು, ಅವ್ರ ಕಾಲ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋಯ್ತು. ಅನ್ಆರ್ಗನೈಸ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್, ಆಶಾ ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್ 3,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರದವರು, 3,000 rupees, and they are not workers of private agencies. Why the trade unions are keeping quiet? Why don't they take a marcha? Instead of blaming the private people, the government is doing this. Government is not paying. Corporation will ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡೋರಿಗೆ 3 ತಿಂಗಳು 4 ತಿಂಗಳು 5 ತಿಂಗಳು ಸಂಬಳ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ. What are the trade unions doing about it? I have filed a few cases in some of the very deserving cases in favor of labor. Gratuity ಕೂಡ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. So there is nobody to uplift them. If you take the cabinet, who is there who is going to talk about labor? There is nobody. The labor minister calls a meeting of all the owners of the factories. ಯಾರ್ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಬಲ್ ಇದೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಜೊತೆ ಕರೀರಿ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್. ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು ಏನೇನು ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಯಾರ್ಯಾರ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆ, ನಾನು ಹೌ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಐ ಎಂಜಾಯ್ ಥ್ರೂ ದಿಸ್ profitability of these companies. Where does it talk about labor? ಧಾರವಾಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದ್ಸಾರಿ ಲೇಬರ್ದು ವೆರಿ ರೆಪ್ಯೂಟೆಡ್ ಕಂಪನಿ ಅವರು 500 ಜನ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರು. 1000 workmen were on roll. This man demanded something, the minister. I think they did not oblige because they are a reputed organization. Then he told all the labor department people, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹೋಗಿ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. They came running to me from Dharwad, what is to be done? ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಪ್ಪ ಬಂದವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ. ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಆಲ್ ದ 500 people tomorrow. ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಸ್ಟಾಪ್. ಅವ್ರು ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್ ಯಾಕೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿರಿ ಅಂತ. The honorable labor minister has objected to carrying on with contract labor. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮನೆಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದು ನೋಡಿದ ಕೂಡ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಡೆಪ್ಟಿ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಹೋಗೋದು. ಅವ್ನು ಯಾರು ಸರ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್, ನಮ್ಮ ಕೆಲಸ ನಿಲ್ಸಕ್ಕೆ. ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಬಂತು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಮುದುಕೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ. There is no policy, there is no principle, there is no one to take care. ಇವಾಗ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. See, we have done a lot of things as required under the constitution. It is not as though nothing has been done. A lot of improvement has happened in case of labor also. Implementation is a question. The biggest problem we are facing with labor, even though the constitution has provided so much of benefit, is one of the worst corruption in the department. A senior officer in the labor department tells my client, ನೋಡಪ್ಪ ಇದು 5 ಲಕ್ಷ ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೊಡು ನನಗೆ, ನಂಗೆ ಕೊಡಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ವಾ, ಹೋಗಿ SN ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಕೊಡು. ಕೇಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ. ನನಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಕೇಸೇ ಮುಗಿದೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಾರಿ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ನೀವು? This is what is actually happening. If labor are not able to get their due, it's not as much as the employers, as much as the government servant, the labor department and others. Why should a government officer, senior officer tell them, nange 5 lakhs kodilla, our office go 5 lakhs kodu? Law is there, you must implement. Now what's coming in the way? Corruption. And when you ask him, ಯಾಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಈ ಥರ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ನಾವು ಹಿಂದೂ ಧರ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಮೊಮ್ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನೀವು ಈ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನನಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊತಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಹಿಂದೂ ಧರ್ಮದ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಪಾಪ, ನನಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅವನೇನೋ ಸಣ್ಣ ಕಮಿಷನ್ ತಗೋತಾರೆ. Why I am saying you all this is 51 years I have seen this practically from morning to evening as a practicing lawyer. I know how the department runs, I know how the laws are made, I know how the laws are started. ಎಷ್ಟು ಜಡ್ಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೇಕು ನಿಮಗೆ? ರೆಕಗ್ನಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ಸ್. There is no law with regard to recognition of trade union. ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿನವ್ರು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಸರ್ ಕಾನೂನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ವಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ನೀವು ಯಾಕೆ ರೆಕಗ್ನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ? Because there is no law. And as my friend said, secret ballot ಇಲ್ಲ. ಕೆಲಸಗಾರರಿಗೆ ಹೆದರಿಕೆ, ಓಪನ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಂದು ವೋಟ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ. ಇವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಲೇ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಅವ್ರು ಸೀಕ್ರೆಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆಟ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಆ ಸೀಕ್ರೆಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆಟ್ ಇನ್ನೂ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ. ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅದ್ರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಯಾರು ನಡ್ಕೋತಿಲ್ಲ. Don't blame the law, blame those who are the people who are required to implement, execute the law. Then, contract labor. Section 10 of the Contract Labor Act ಏನು ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ? Any work in a factory or any process in a factory or a company which requires a minimum of fixed number of workmen, which is perennial in nature, ಅಂತ ಜಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರಿನಲ್ಲೂ ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟ್ ವರ್ಕ್ಮೆನ್ ಆರ್ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಡ್ ಟು ವರ್ಕ್, ಯು ಪ್ರಾಹಿಬಿಟ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ 10. ಇವತ್ತಿನವರೆಗೂ ಯಾವ ಸರ್ಕಾರದವರು ಯಾವ ಪ್ರಾಹಿಬಿಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ 1970 ಇಂದ 8 ವರ್ಷ ಆಯಿತು, 55 ವರ್ಷ ಆಯಿತು. ವಾಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ದ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟಿ ಇನ್ ಪ್ರಾಹಿಬಿಟಿಂಗ್? ಇಫ್ ದ ಪ್ರಾಹಿಬಿಟ್, ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡೋ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಹೊರಟೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡೋ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ ಹೊರಟೋದ್ರೆ ಬರೋ ದುಡ್ಡು. Again, it is related to capital. They don't want to prohibit. One of the reasons is the biggest employer of contract labor is the central government. Second, the various state governments. It hurts them. They are exploiting. Agitation of trade unions must be against the government doing this. But nobody is coming forward for them. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬಾಷ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ITC ನಲ್ಲೇ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಟೊಯೋಟಾ ಕಿರ್ಲೋಸ್ಕರಲ್ಲೇ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್. ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಪಾಪ ಇದಾರಲ್ಲ ಅಬ್ಬೆಪಾರಿಗಳು, ಯಾರು ಗತಿ ಇಲ್ಲೇರು, ಅವ್ರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು? ವೈ ಬ್ಲೇಮ್ ದ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್? ನಥಿಂಗ್ ರಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ಇಫ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎನಿಥಿಂಗ್ ರಾಂಗ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಅಸ್. ನಾನು ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸರಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ಅಪಿಯರ್ ಆಗೋಲ್ಲ ಕೇಸಸ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜ್. 1-2-3 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ನನಗೂ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಅಪಿಯರ್. ಐ ಟೆಲ್ ಮೈ ಕ್ಲೈಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಹೊಡೆದಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? ಬಟ್ ದಿ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ದ ಹೋಲ್ ಗೇಮ್. ಮೊನ್ನೆ 36 ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜ್. ಒಂದು ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ವಿಡ್ರಾ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಪವರ್ ಟು ವಿಡ್ರಾ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ರಿಪಿಟಿಷನ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಆಟಗಳು ನಡೀತು. ವೈ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ? ಸೊ ದಿ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟಿ, ದಿ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾಂಡೇಟ್, ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಹಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬೀನ್ taken care of or put into action, the fault lies with the government, both central and state, irrespective of party. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಅಣ್ಣ ತಮ್ಮಂದಿರೇ, ಅವರು ಆಚೆ ಕಡೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. They have not done anything in spite of the law. 4 ಕೋಡ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಐ ಆಸ್ಕ್ಡ್ ದಿ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಟಿವ್ who had come to speak on that code, on those codes. ಅಪ್ಪ, ನೀವು ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಬಂದಿದೆಯಾ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ? ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಅಥವಾ ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ 4 ಕೊಡೋದು ಏನು ತೊಂದರೆ ಇದೆ ಹೇಳು, ನಾನು ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡುವಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿ ಆಫೀಸಲ್ಲಿ ಗೊತ್ತು ಸರ್, ಅವ್ರು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವ್ರು ಯಾವ ಲೀಡರ್ನು? ಅಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ, ನೀನು ಓದಿಲ್ವಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಓದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ ಸರ್. ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಸರ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಯಾವ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ ಅಂತ? ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್. ಅದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ರೀಸನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಬೇಡಿ. ನಾನು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ನೋಡಿ, ರೆಕಗ್ನಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ 70 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಪಲ್ಸರಿ ರೆಕಗ್ನಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ ಯುವರ್ ಫೇವರ್. ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ರಿ. ಚಂದ್ರಬಾಬು ನಾಯ್ಡು ಲಾಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಇನ್ ಆಂಧ್ರ ಪ್ರದೇಶ್ brought a law where he said perennial nature of work ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ಇರೋ ಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. Even then no other state brought it. Now in the code they have very clearly said contract labor is abolished. It is allowed only in these areas: loading, unloading, packing, canting, which are not directly connected to production activity. But they have not done it. ಇವ್ರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ತೊಂದರೆ ಇದರಿಂದ? ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು, ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ವರ್ಕರ್ ಹೋಗಿ MD ಮೇಲೆ ಕಂಪ್ಲೇಂಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು ಮ್ಯಾಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ವೈಲೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಾ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನೀವು ಸೀದಾ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು. ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದೆಲ್ಲ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಏನೋ ಕೇಳಿದೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಯಾರು ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್, ಅವ್ರು ಒಂದೇ ಗ್ರೀವೆನ್ಸ್ ಆ 100 ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ 300 ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. 300 ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್ ಕೆಳಗಿದ್ರೆ ಲೇ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ, ರಿಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ, ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಬೇಡ. 100 ಇತ್ತು, ಅದು 300 ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದು ಒಂದೇ ಸರ್ ನಮಗೆ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇರೋದು. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ. ಇದು ಯಾರು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿನ, ನೋಬಡಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿ ಟು ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಎ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿ. It's not so easy to start a factory or a company. You must go to the bank. ಅವ್ರು ಗ್ಯಾರಂಟಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರು 10 ಲಕ್ಷ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ 100 ಲಕ್ಷ ಗ್ಯಾರಂಟಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿಗಳು ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲ. Nobody starts to close. Why are you keeping that in your view and opposing it? Anyway, Mr. Baba Matthews will speak now after I speak. So I will get answer on that. Why? What is the difficulty in this situation? But wonderful thing is, 4 ವರ್ಷ ಆಯ್ತು ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬ್ರಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಟು ದಿಸ್. ಒಂದು ಆಸ್ಪತ್ರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ a nurse was unhappy with the doctors, bosses. She used to give injection as a veterinary doctor. ಟಕ್ಕಂತ ಹಾಕೋದು ಇಂಜೆಕ್ಷನ್. ಪಾಪ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ ಬಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ thought finally she was terminated. Then Supreme Court said, enquiry ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, therefore there is nothing that can be done. Hospital is also an industry. ಯಾರು ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು? ಇಂಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್, ಇಸ್ಂಟ್ ಇಟ್? ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಆ ಪೇಷಂಟು 4-5 ಜನ ನರ್ಸಸ್ ಕೈಲಿ ಇಂಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿರಬೇಕು, ಇವ್ರು ಕೊಡೋ ಇಂಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಸರಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್? ಸೊ ದಿ ಲಾ ವಾಸ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. ಇನ್ನೂ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸಪೋಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಅನ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ. ಕಾಲೇಜ್, ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ, ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಜಸ್ಟಿಸ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣಯ್ಯರ್ ಇನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಕೇಸ್. ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಟೀಚರ್ನು ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಂಕ್ವೈರಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಯಾರು ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು? ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿದೆ, ನಾವು ಪ್ರತಿ ಟೀಚರ್ ಮೇಲೂ ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಿದ್ವಿ. ಟೀಚರ್ಸೇ ಬೇಡ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹಿಂಗ್ ಬೇಕು ಆಗಿದೆ. Fortunately, the late E.S. Venkatramaya, former Chief Justice of India, he said, this is ridiculous. You can't expect the evidence to be given by students and all that. Principal and professor will decide. Allow me ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಆಸ್ಪತ್ರೆಯಿಂದ ಹಾಗೆ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದು ಸಿಂಧಿ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ ಆಚೆ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಆವಾಗ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮೆಷಿನ್ಸ್ ತಂದಿದ್ರು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ವಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಕ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಬಾಬಾ ಮ್ಯಾಚಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರು. ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಕ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಆ ವಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಚೆ ಕಡೆ ಗಲಾಟೆ ಮಾಡೋದು. ನಾನೊಂದು ಇಂಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಡಿ, ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಅವರು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಒಂದು ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ವಾರ್ಡ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಲೊಕೇಶನ್, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪಕ್ಕನೆ ಕೂಗ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರು ಜಡ್ಜ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೋ, ಏನ್ ಮಿಸ್ ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಯು ಆರ್ ಟ್ರೈಂಗ್ ಟು ಫುಲ್ ಮೀ. ಏನ್ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ, ನಾನೇನು ಫುಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ? ಆಸ್ಪತ್ರೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ, ಏನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಬುದ್ಧಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ. ನಂಗೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇನೆಯಾ, ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಪ್ಪಲ್ಲ ಇದರಿಂದ. ಬಟ್ ಇದೊಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೋಡ್ಬಿಡಿ, ಈ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ ನೋಡಿರು. He felt very sad. He also felt that he was got insulted, that he had told that I don't know anything. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆಯ್ತು, ನಾಳೆ ನೋಡೋಣ. ಅವತ್ತು ಇರೋ ಅಡ್ವೊಕೇಟ್ಸ್ ಮುಂದೆ ಇದಾಗಬಾರ್ದು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ ಬರೋ ಅಡ್ವೊಕೇಟ್ ಯಾರು ಬೇರೆ ಇವರು, ಆಗ ಬಾಚುವಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಇಂಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. Why I am saying this, nobody has made efforts to. ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ವೇಜಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ಲ. In fact, Justice Gajendra Khatkar, as I read his judgment, was very liberal when it came to welfare measures of labor. ಸಂಬಳ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಬೋನಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಗ್ರಾಚ್ಯುಟಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಡಿಸಿಪ್ಲಿನಿಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ he was very firm. In fact, if you ask me, Supreme Court is only responsible for industrial indiscipline in this country. ಬೈದ್ರೆ ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಪಾಪ, ಅದು ಅವ್ನು ಯಾರೋ ಬಂದು ಬಾಯಿ ಬಂದು ಬೈತಾರೆ ಸೂಪರ್ವೈಸರ್ನ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರೆಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ವರ್ಕ್ಮೆನ್. ನಾವು ಡಿಸ್ಮಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಪಾಪ ಲೋವರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಜಿನ ಹಾಗೆ ಬೈಯೋದು, ಯಾಕೆ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೋತೀರ, ವಾಪಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ ಕೆಲಸಕ್ಕೆ. In fact, ಒಂದ್ಸಾರಿ ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ is solely responsible for discipline in the industry. Mr. Murthy, you know what statement you are making? And can you do it an affidavit? ನಾನು ಅದು ಒಂದಲ್ಲ 100 affidavit ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಏನು ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಜಲ್ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗೋಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ನಾನು ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೊಂದು ಜಡ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಡು ರಾತ್ರಿ ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರಲಿ ನಾಳೆ ಅಂತ. ಅದು ಹೊಂಬೇಗೌಡ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಿಂದ ಹೋಗಿರೋದು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಸೇಸ್ we have been very liberal in dealing with cases of indiscipline. It is now necessary to tighten the whole situation and bring back discipline. ನಾನಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು, ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಒಳಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ಬಿಡೋರೆ ನಾವು, ಬಟ್ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ ಬಂದು ಓಕೆ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮೂರ್ತಿ ಐ ರೆಡ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಪ್ಯಾರಾ 29 ಒಂದು ಓದಿ ಬನ್ನಿ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇಕಿ. ವೈ ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಕೆನಾಟ್ ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಡಿಸಿಪ್ಲಿನ್? ಯಾರೋ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ದುಡ್ಡು ಸಿಕ್ತು ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಪರದಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ. ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಲಾ. ಅವೇನು ಇಂಪೀಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತೆ. ಇಂಪೀಚ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಈ ಪಾರ್ಟಿನವ್ರು ಇಂಪೀಚ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ನೋ ಇಂಪೀಚ್ ಅಂತಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರು ನೋ ಇಂಪೀಚ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇವ್ರು ಇಂಪೀಚ್ ಅಂತಾರೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರು ಅದನ್ನ ಮಂಡಿಸ್ತಿರೋದು. Therefore, when you consider all these aspects, what I have a feeling that I have over a period of time, right from the time when 50 years back we used to talk of globalization. In fact, globalization, Mr. Babu Medru has been opposing all the time. No, we should have globalization. And the Galate Martin. Finally, we like it or not, one more thing, globalization, we had to put our signature. Ivattu, America is little against globalization in some sense, not fully. ಅವ್ರಿಗೇನು ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಇವರ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಅವರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರಲ್ಲ ಮೊನಾಪಲಿ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಅವೇ ಅವರ್ ಮನಿ. ಗ್ಲೋಬಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆಯಿತು. Supposing globalization was not there today, software engineers would not have gone to foreign countries and done, because we don't have software engineers. The entire economy to a great extent is dependent on software engineering. All that you see, the automobile growth, if you go 60 to 70% of the vehicles are purchased by software engineers. If you go to the housing area, multi-story building area, flats only, a minimum of 60 to 70% of the flats are purchased by software engineers. Imagine without that income, without that business, where would we be? Minus the globalization. We have harvested the best out of globalization, whether we like that in principle or not. It's a practical, it's a reality, it has come to stay. Did you find, in fact, when I made one settlement with a multinational company, Union, one Mr. Surya Rao was the president of the union. So final settlement ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಈ ಟೆಲಿಫೋನ್ ಟು ಮೀ, ನಾ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಫೀಸ್ಗೆ ರೆಡಿಯಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿರು ಒಂದಷ್ಟು 8 ಚೇರು ಇದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. He used to talk to us in singular because we are a senior. ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. We did everything and we signed a settlement. 55,000 pieces in a shift. Bearings. Vehicle bearings were manufactured. 55,000 in a shift. 55 to 75 ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬಹಳ ಇನ್ಸೆಂಟಿವ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. What we thought, 55 to 75 ಏನು ಇನ್ಸೆಂಟಿವ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ, we raise the bar to 75 and tell them ನೀವು 65,000 ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಸ್ಯಾಲರಿ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ, we'll put this into you. Sign, everybody happy. Then before going, office bearer says, sir, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಏನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? ಅದು when we made the incentive scheme, I asked the company for this. 75 to 85, 85 to 95, 95 to 105, 105 to 115, 115 to 125. What is going to be ready? Sir, our ಹಣೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಬರ್ದಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡೋಣ. They increased very drastically. These office bearers told me, sir, ಬಹಳ ಓಪನ್ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲಿ. Management should not construct anything. ಅಲ್ಲ ಯಾರಂತ ಓನರ್ ಯಾರು ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಅವನ ಮಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಯಾರು ಹೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ ಅವ್ರು ಯಾತಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಡ ಸರ್. ಎಂತ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಸೆಟಲ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬೈ ದ ಟೈಮ್ ಆಫ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಟಲ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ us will come in Maruti 800 cars. ಪಾರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಜಾಗ. And today a large number of organized laborers matra, there is nobody without a two-wheeler. ಸೈಕಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಎಂತಾದ್ರು ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್ ತಂಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ದಾಗ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಇವತ್ತು ಯಾವ ವರ್ಕರ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ. ಅಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗಕ್ಕೂ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಪಾಪ. ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಬ್ಲೇಮ್ ದೇಮ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಹೋಗೋದು ಇಲ್ಲ ಆದ್ರೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟೂ ವೀಲರ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಿಡ್ಲ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ನೋಡೋದ ಕಾರ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. That was not the situation 50 years back. What prompted this change? That means we have focused on the labor. Here the mistake we have done is we have not focused on unorganized labor. That's a mistake. Mistake of the government and mistake of the corporations and to a certain extent the mistake of the trade union leaders who should have fought for them. They could have fought and got them better deal. Definitely. You see, when you see your subject, that exploring constant philosophy and involving dynamics of industrial relations and labor welfare, it has been achieved to some extent, not fully to our satisfaction. But we have gone a long way in 50 years. Because I can only talk of 50 years, earlier to that, I have no idea. But we have gone a long way, improved a lot to a great extent. Lot more needs to be done because of our population, we are not able to do it. It is difficult to find jobs for everyone and at every place. Added to that, artificial intelligence has come. That is also bothering us now. Number of companies are talking of artificial intelligence. Change is taking place. And therefore, it will take some time for us to improve a lot of labor on the road. Till then, thank you for your patience.
Thank you, sir. Your insights have certainly intellectually enriched every individual present here. We are fortunate to have your presence among us today. I now request our guest of honor, Professor Dr. Babunath, Professor, National Law School of India University, Bengaluru, to address the gathering.
Dear friends, I'm in a dilemma. And the dilemma is that I had come with a prepared speech. But after having heard my colleague, Mr. S.N. Murthy, and our little powwow just now, he also says that a debate will be more valuable than me giving a lecture. So I think I'll abandon my notes and then I will, interact with Mr. Murthy in a manner in which any issues will remain still open and our debates will continue inside and outside this auditorium. But at the very outset, I must say, I have come across many who are advisors to the employer. I come from the opposite school. I'm an advisor to labor. But if somebody were to ask me, who would you like as your opponent? The undoubted answer would be Mr. Murthy. And that is because not only of his competence but of his integrity. There are on both sides people without integrity. and they are the ones who make life miserable for everybody. Collusion. Collusion is a deep disease in our country, and it does not spare management lawyers or trade union lawyers. So against that background, a few words. I think basically we subscribe to the same philosophy. And perhaps that's the reason why we've had a long friendship. And what is that based on? I would like to rely very heavily on something called as the Industrial Truce Resolution. TRUCE, truce. Industrial Truce Resolution. In 1947, an Industrial Truce Resolution was adopted. You know the situation background. And a second time it was adopted in 1962 against the background of the Chinese aggression. And what the Industrial Truce Resolution said was, there must be good industrial development in India. There must be opportunity for making profits and increasing productivity. That's on one side. On the other side, there must be fair labor conditions. I think in India, the first requirement has been met to a larger extent than the second requirement, except as Mr. Murthy pointed out, so far as the 7% are concerned. 93% are in precarious conditions, inhuman conditions. The majority of them are women. They cannot lead a dignified life. And that is because labor law, I must pick up one by one the examples of labor law, of the labor codes which are foul, which are bad. I, on this occasion, in continuity with what I'm saying, pick up the Social Security Code. Social Security Code of 2020. It has excellent provisions in respect of employees' provident fund, employee state insurance, gratuity, maternity, employees' compensation, the old Workmen's Compensation Act. 5 excellent pieces of legislation, but not available to 93% of the workforce. Out of a workforce which is now reaching 600 million, 93% won't get anything out of that. In my opinion, the Social Security Code is the most discriminatory piece of labor codes that we have. Not that it was better in the earlier days, it was quite similar, but I think this one has made it worse for reasons which I'll shortly point out. Let me go to the Industrial Relations Code. We have in the Industrial Relations Code historically the right to strike. By the way, the right to strike is not a constitutional right. It's not a fundamental right. Freedom of association is fundamentally. Collective bargaining is a statutory right. Right to strike and the counter weapon, which is called the right to lockout, both are statutory rights. They have disappeared from the Industrial Relations Code. I think there are very few, you can probably count on your fingertips, the countries in the world which have banned strike and lockout, not in explicit terms, but in very interesting way. And what is that interesting way? If you read all the sections connected together, then the meaning is you can never have a legal strike or a legal lockout in future. This mechanism which was available only to the public utility service has now been made a universal provision, and this is a completely condemnable part. And I don't think it stands the scrutiny of international jurisprudence. What is international jurisprudence? What is the ILO? There's not a single declaration or convention of the ILO which is not endorsed by the developed countries of the world. And here we are violating even those standards. And I think the first IR code is guilty of that. I'm always fond of saying that you must have the rule of law, not only in the world and not only in society. You must have the rule of law on the shop floor. Where do you get the rule of law on the shop floor from? You get it from the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act. And now it will not be available unless the number of workers in that factory is more than 300. The majority of those who suffer the violation of rule of law on the floor of the house are those who are working in small factories, up to 300. And so that is a gross kind of neglect. Mr. Murthy has already correctly referred to this same deviation when it comes to layoff, retrenchment, and closure. It was available earlier for any factory with more than 100 workers. Now it has been lifted to 300. So that again is a deprivation of a right which the Supreme Court has upheld. Supreme Court in the famous Excelware judgment had struck it down, but Parliament reenacted it, and after reenactment it went back to the Supreme Court who said, yes, now the new law is in compliance with reasonable restrictions under Article 19(1)(g). So that law is in force as of now because the new courts are not yet coming to be. If you look at the second one I take is the wage code. In the wage code, you have now a new development, and that is there are two kinds of wages. For the first time, that is minimum wage along with national floor wage. And how much is this great national floor wage? The officers say it is 178 rupees per day. And the lowest minimum wage in the Karnataka state is above 500 rupees. So what is this great floor wage? It's an indirect method by which it will become a downward drag on even wages which are otherwise being arrived at. And so that is a bad situation. In addition, scheduled employments have been removed from the Minimum Wage Act or the corresponding law. Without scheduled employment, how are you going to fix wages? Yes, there are mechanisms. I myself subscribe to that mechanism in a different forum, but I tell you it will open up the floodgates for even further litigation. Then you look at, in the same law, you may be aware that the Bonus Act is also part of the wage code. Why is it so? That's because philosophically we've accepted the interpretation that if there is a gap between the actual wages being paid and the living wage, do you know what the living wage is? You first have to fix the minimum wage. According to our calculation, the minimum wage in Bangalore will have to cross 30,000. Above that is the fair wage. And above that is the living wage as accepted by wage jurisprudence in the country. There may be a handful of companies in India, in Bangalore, who give the living wage. So if there's a gap between the real wage and the living wage, that gap is to be bridged through the Bonus Act. It's a partial fulfillment of the gap between the constitutional aspiration of a living wage and what exists now. In addition, if you look at the minimum wage is being eroded, continuously eroded. The real wage in the minimum wage is coming down because neutralization is extremely inadequate. The method by which neutralization is practiced in Karnataka by the statistics department, they've invented a formula where you get a few paisas neutralization per point. But we are aware that in the organized sector is the consumer price index as calculated by the Simla Bureau, and compensation for it has grossed 2 rupees per point. Because you are not doing that, today's minimum wage by tomorrow is eroded further, and the minimum wage becomes the sub-minimum wage. And so that's another aspect, meaning that quantification of minimum wage, which ought to have been tackled by virtue of 50 years of experience or more, has been left in the same, and there's a gaping hole in that regard. When it comes to the Bonus Act, they say that balance sheet should not become a public document. What's the meaning of that? Bonus, even under the revised law, says may vary from 8.33 to 20%. How will you decide whether it is 12, 14, or 16? It's impossible to do so unless you can examine the balance sheet. It must become a public document available for scrutiny in the appropriate forum. There's an attempt to say that no, it will have to be kept under wraps. So that's not a transparent mechanism of doing it. And then you have the sectoral laws, that's the Occupational Safety and Health Code. What they have done is they have repealed 13 sectoral laws. Sectoral laws have always been a part of India's labor jurisprudence. You may be a construction worker, you may be a BD worker, you may be a migrant worker. Take the the Interstate Migrant Workers Act of 1979. It's a good piece of legislation. I agree with Mr. Murthy that poor implementation. But in law, it's a good implementation. It's been repealed. And do you know what is the tragedy of migration? The extent of migration from other parts of India to a state like, say, Karnataka is much lesser than intra-state migration. It's high time you made a law in order to say that intra-state migration should be covered because that is where the largest number of workers are. Instead, you repeal the enactment and you destroy the available protection. Take the Building and Construction Workers Act. That's been repealed. Globally, it is recognized that the biggest danger in construction is accident. You fall down from above. And for that, there was elaborate safety provisions in the Building and Construction Workers Act. All of them are repealed. And so now they are exposed to the danger of that variety also. So I have, for lack of time, picked up only one item from each of the codes in order to say, yes, of course, there are difficult points about which we deserve public debate of the type that, thank God, Mr. Murthy has initiated and I could join in. Please prepare for a day on which we can have on each code a more detailed discussion. And I request our respected principal kindly call Mr. Murthy. Don't call the other employers lawyers. They won't be able to stand in a proper debate. So that is welcome. And I say that globalization, I must clarify, I'm not against globalization per se. I'm against that kind of globalization which creates additional unemployment. Now, when you're going to our artificial intelligence, majority of the workers in the IT sector will lose their jobs. I don't want that kind of globalization. That's not suitable for India. And there must be globalization with fairness. It must make sure that the international climate provides me opportunity. I want globalization with a human face. What we witness now is globalization with an evil face. And that globalization, it's our duty to oppose it. Not against globalization. Capital is international. So labor also should be international. If capital can move from one corner of the world to another, labor also should have the right to move without being called a migrant, and then you're sent by President Trump with your hands and feet tied and transported back to India, even to India. And you can imagine what he'll do to Latin America and Africa. That is capitalism of the worst type. And so there are interesting things for us to look at. Today is a day confined to this, and so I abandon my prepared notes for another occasion. Thank you, Murthy, for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Your words have certainly made an impact on the audience. Thank you for gracing this occasion. I would now request Professor Dr. J.M. Mallikarjunaya, Dean, Faculty of Law, KD Technological University and Principal, KD Law College, Bangalore, to deliver the presidential address.
Honorable Mr. Murthy, Senior Advocate General of Karnataka, beloved Professor Babu Mathe, dear delegates, my dear colleagues, and student friends. At the outset, congratulations. I deeply appreciate the efforts of the organizing committee of 10th National Annual Conference. Congratulations to the organizing committee. In particular, Madam Sunita, Siddhi Suman, Shamli, Devasmita, well guided by Dr. Manoj Ramat and Dr. Vishnu Prasad. Congratulations to you. Beyond these names, there are many student volunteers and many teacher colleagues of mine who have contributed immensely for the success of this program. I congratulate them as well. And as you may understand, it's difficult to be contributing anything profound after such wonderful deliberations you are through. I would only say at the outset, we may not take credit, but we take great pleasure in bringing two friends together and giving them the pleasure of sharing their nostalgic reflections. And it was indeed a great intellectual feast too. In fact, I wanted to mention the same, sir, that you, both of you, have fed us with the great appetizer. and the full meal is awaited, and we will be looking forward for you to serve us. And it's a pleasure to have you again for more detailed discussions on this occasion. During COVID times, I have heard several lectures on Zoom platform delivered by Ms. Murthy, and I was surprised to see the dimensions from which I haven't read the labor laws. And either I had to disown my beliefs, or quite often my beliefs in labor law got confirmed out of course, disagreement with few of the observations of Ms. Murthy. And I personally, I feel like confessing this. It's not confession with great pride. I would like to share. For a very short time during my LLB days, I was a Susi comrade and Socialist Unity Center of India. I was a comrade and I was participating in conciliation proceedings and representing trade union along with Susi leaders. Thereafter, my journey to PG Department of Studies in Law, Harvard, where I took up my LLM study in labor laws. Uh, they say a teacher touches the lives of students in eternity. I feel such a thing has happened to me, and I have a great compulsion to agree with, great and pleasant compulsion to agree with all the views expressed by Professor Babu Matthew, maybe for the reason he is a teacher of my teacher, and he is the friend and classmate of my teacher, Professor Vishweshwar. I feel we get connected from there. And last but not the least, without deliberating much on it for the cost of repetition, I was also mentioning the same in the morning session that again my conviction gets confirmed that as I was preaching in the morning session, everything is not bad with neoliberalism. I was also expecting that because of the whatever kind of behavior of Big Brother, whether globalization gets globalized. That is the expression today's newspaper carries. They say globalizing the globalization. And when I hear from Dr. Babu Matthew, there are three forces yet which will not allow the neoliberalism to disappear, but it bounces back in different forms. However, I once again reiterate the Big Brother led, call it movement, confusion, whatever. If we call it an adversity, let us welcome that adversity and try to find an opportunity in that adversity, and have a very well balanced neoliberalism. And last but not the least, let me borrow the expression of Professor Babu Matthew that let's try to treat labor standards, labor rights as human rights, and also let's try to have globalization of human face and not the human face. I think with these thoughts, I'd like to leave you for further pondering, and I must make a mention that for past 2 days, the kind of attention that you have paid, the kind of time that you gave, and try to understand as much as possible from this conference is really appreciable. Hence, I appreciate deeply your efforts to be part of this event, and congratulations to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your words have truly enriched the gathering. Thank you for your constant support and guidance. I now request Ms. Devasmita Acharji, Assistant Professor of Law, KD Law College, Bengaluru, to announce the awards for the best papers. Ma'am, please.
A very good evening
to the dignitaries on the dais, respected faculty members, and my dear students. As the conference nears its conclusion, we approach an important junction, being the declaration of the awards, as an attempt to appreciate your time and effort behind writing such thoughtful and informative pieces. We have divided the awards for the paper presenters outside our institutions, that is, the external papers and our own internal students. I request the dignitaries on the stage to kindly come forward and hand over the certificates and the awards to the participants. In the first category, we have the best papers for the students in the external presenters category. All the three awards are online presentations. ACN 91, Namrata Gupta and Sushant S. Anjan from Thakur Law College. ACN 76 is Vaishnavi and Sahana Wali, RL Law College. And in the third place, we have ACL 29, Ms. Madhu Yadav, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. Next, we have the three awards for the best paper in professional category. I request the participants to kindly come up on the stage as I call their names. ACL 10, Dr. Chaitra Prasad, MD. In the second place, we have Dr. Nyatundo George and Khyadu Malikarjunaya from Christ Academy Institute of Law. That's an online presentation. And in the third place, we have ACL 37, Dr. Sharda R. Shinde, NLSIU. Next, we come to the best papers in LLB. First place, Akriti Sharma and Darshan TS. In the second place, we have Satya D and Tarun K. In the third place, we have Prajwal Harihar and Viraj S. Next, we have the best papers in BBA LLB category. In the first place, we have Ms. Tushara and Mr. Harikrishna Yadav. Please come on stage. In the second place, we have Ms. Lekha Goel and Ms. Mehak Pamya. In the third place, we have Ms. Suhasini Gopal and Ms. Shriya Amargul.
In the next category, we have the best papers from BCom LLB. In the first place, we have Ms. Bhargavi P. and Ms. Bhumika Chandra. In the second place, we have Ms. Rakshita Chen and Ms. Bhavani Ji. In the third place, we have Ms. Avantika A. and Mr. Chirag Sengar. Next category, we have the best paper from BA LLB. In the first place, we have Ms. Gargi Srivastav and Mr. Jayant Manchal. In the next place, we have Mr. Sakib Shergul and Mr. Rohit Sundar Singh. And in the third place, we have Mr. Harshit N. and Ms. Akshara Garbani. We are calling the names for the best paper in LLB again. In the first place, we have Akriti Sharma and Darshan TS. In the second place, we have Sandhya D and Tarun K. In the third place, we have Prajwal Harihar and Viraj S. A very hearty congratulations to all the winners and the participants. Thank you for being a part of this event and making it memorable. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request Dr. Manoj Kumar B. Hiraman, Assistant Professor of Law and IQAC Coordinator, Kelly Law College, Bengaluru, to render the vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Good evening, all. Respected please, holidays, and my dear students. As the chief guest of the event, congratulated all the students for being here from 9:30 to 5:30, almost 8 hours. If I can speak in labor law language, you are here for 8 hours of work, laboring here to learn at the same time earn. Learning the labor law, earning your marks. So I congratulate and thank you all for being there for 2 days in this 2 days national conference deliberation. So on this occasion, I should say, and I hope all of you agree that this is the best valedictory session we have in the last few months. It was such a wonderful speak from both the speakers. So I express our gratitude on behalf of the college and conference committee to Shri S.N. Murthy, Senior Advocate, for being there with us and guiding us students with respect to the labor law dimensions. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I request Principal Dr. J. Mallikarjuna sir to present a memento to Sri S.N. Murthy, Senior Advocate, as a mark of remembrance. Thank you, sir. And we also have with us today Professor Babu Matthew, the Professor of National School of India University. We are fortunate to have two sessions from him today. So I thank Professor Babu Matthew, sir, and he said his speech is still not delivered. We will have him again to deliver that speech. So thank you profusely for your time and your words of wisdom and the dimensions of our labor law. Thank you so much, sir. Again, I request the Principal Dr. J. Mallikarjuna sir to present the memento to Babu Matthew, sir. Thank you, sir. So, as Madam Shamli said in the beginning of this event of presenting the report, the wheels of this event started rolling 3 months ago with the contribution of Professor Aita, Dr. Vishnu Prasad, Dr. H.G. Godapnavar's contribution in preparing the concept note. So I thank all the three professors profusely on behalf of I thank Anita and Vice Principal for being there in advisory committee and advising us. Thank you. In particular, I should thank abundantly and a lot of thanks should be given to the conference committee headed by Dr. Sunita BH and with her four colleagues, Ms. Siddhi, Ms. Devasmita, Ms. Shamli. And I should also thank the student coordinators, Mr. Aditya, Ms. Bhumika, Ms. Purvi, Ms. Kusuma, and others for working for preparation of this conference from last almost 1.5 months and making it a successful event. I thank all of you. I should also thank Ms. Dr. Mansusan for providing us a good food and snacks. And also thank Mr. Tanmay and his team, Mr. Tregola and Navi for providing me technical assistance. And I also thank all the resource persons of the plenary session in their absence here, and also the technical chairpersons who came from different institutions. The teachers from 20 institutions from Bangalore came here and helped us in assessing the performance of students and selecting the best paper awards. I thank all of them in their absence. And I also thank the co-chairs of the sessions who are our faculty members in assisting in all the paper presentations. I thank all of them. Then I thank all the faculty members, administrative staff, and all students who are here from last 2 days, laboring to learn and earn. Once again, I congratulate all of you. Last, most important, I thank the principal, Dr. J. Mallikarjunaya, for providing this opportunity to learn as well as thank you.
Friends, with the permission of the principal, I want to say two things. One is, I've been coming here very often, and it's a great experience to be here. After having visited many law colleges, I must say this is one of the best. Credit goes to Dr. Mallikarjunaya and his colleagues. The second announcement that I want to make, to be honest to myself and to all of you, I'm not a PhD holder, I'm only a professor. And so I've been showered with more than what I deserve, and that is a clarification I owe to the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The intellectual journey undertaken during this conference on constitutional philosophy and labor welfare has been both inspiring and illuminating. As this conference comes to an end, let us carry with us not just a collection of ideas, but a framework for continued reflection and a renewed impetus for action. We extend our sincere gratitude to all who contributed to the success of this conference and we wish you all the best in the future, everyone. Thank you so much.
All the external participants, please collect your certificates